My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching OMNI X-Men.
I remembered to play the video. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back with some OMNI X-Men. That's right. That was our boy, Chris Claremont. He is the one who wrote this this Bible of ours, as we call it. So yeah, really excited to be back. Happy New Year's. Hope everybody's holiday was amazing. Yeah, some busy times for me. I've been a little bit on the low end of IG and YouTube, but finally back, kicking off the show again. This is like technically our 8th episode into season 3 for OMNI X-Men. So yeah, had a little bit of a glitch the past couple weeks. Everything is good now. We're hitting the ground running here in 2023. And when I say we, of course, I have my good friend and co-host with me, John from John's Comics with Kids. John, Happy New Year, man.
Man, I'm super excited to talk Black Hammer. Where's JP? Is this
that's a week and a day from now.
Are we not? Oh, we're still doing this show. I didn't realize we still did this show. We still do the OMNI X. I'm so happy to hear.
Yeah, you got the right book there.
Folks. Sorry, folks. We have had a little bit of a break. Some of that on me, some of that on Justin, but we're back. And sorry that we've been away so long.
Yeah, look, I mean, holiday season gets crazy. I'm sure everybody else was busy as well. So, but I do, like I said before, hope everybody's doing well. John, hope you had a good Christmas and New Year's. Hope you didn't get too crunk on the weekend.
I mean, I was just sitting by a fireplace reading comics, so it really didn't matter if I was. I could
reading comics. Yeah. Well, as you were saying before, blaming people for missing the show and whatnot. The true person I think that we can blame here is our special guest for the evening, and in fact, he has a show after himself being blamed so many times. I don't know who would start this about this guy because he's so nice, so friendly. And it's really messed up that someone would actually start that rumor of blaming this guy. But of course, we're talking about our good friend Phable. What is up, Phable?
Oh, where'd you get that? Where's that coming?
Magic.
Happy New Year, man. Station, everybody,
Likewise.
Man. The chat, community, man. How you guys doing, man?
I felt bad because Phable was like so flexible. Every time we'd be like, we're not doing the show. No, we're actually not doing the show. No, it's gonna be another. It's gonna be another. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
John's like, you want to tell him or you want me to tell him? Like, I'll tell him.
No, man, it's okay. It's all good. Things happen. I'm always happy to come on with you guys. You guys are the best, man. Love hanging out with you guys.
Right back at you, man. We appreciate your time and being part of the show again. I know this is not your first time and certainly not the last either. So yeah, we're breaking down X-Men 161 tonight. Quick reminder, make sure you stick around after the show. We are going to have our trivia from last episode. Now you got to go back a little ways. So if you weren't there for it,
one of my questions is really asking you to go back to issue 160. So you better dig deep, folks.
Yes.
Be ready.
Yes. So we'll have some questions. We'll have some funny ones that you got to make this man laugh tonight as well. If you want to get your name on the board, of course, you can get your name entered into our raffles that we'll have at the end of the season, which falls around June. So we have a lot of fun giveaways for that as well. Make sure you're following John because we'll be on his channel next Tuesday, 9:00. Put his information in the description below. And of course, I put Fable's Instagram and our information in the description as well. Phable has his own show, as I mentioned, the Blame Phable Show, which John and I were just on a month ago. So yeah, definitely go check that out and check out
highest views on YouTube and IG, guys. Just to let you know, you're my highest.
Yeah,
how did that happen? Holy cow!
People
would have been higher if you left a certain somebody off. I'm just saying.
That's so great, yeah, right. I kept crashing.
Just imagine the numbers. So yeah, so very cool. Appreciate everybody watching. We got 14 people in the house right now. Whether you're here now or you're watching the replay, appreciate you. Hope you had a happy New Year. Smash that like button. Let's get into some hellos real quick, and then we'll dive into the issue. Starting it off with another John, Big Daddy Ross in the house. Happy New Year to you, John. Hope you're doing well, my friend. We also have our good friend Krista hanging out with us. Appreciate all the support, Krista. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out. We got our man Chet-Eye Knight hanging out with us as well. Happy New Year to you. Let me see that shirt. Check this one out. I got this one. Yeah, we got some other X-Men love in the house. John,
I can't remember how this works.
John's a little rusty. He's a little rusty. Yeah, exactly. Roy Kirk in the house. Hashtag. What show is this? It could be the Blame Phable show. It could be X-Men. It could be. It's a lot of options here. Let's see. Krista says A glitch. Yeah, a glitch. Otherwise known as family get-togethers. Absolutely. Absolutely. We got nerdtastic news in the house. Station Nerdtastic. Thanks for hanging out with us. We also got my man Daryl hanging out. Read your comics. Happy New Year's to you. I got our good friend Candace hanging out with us too. Recent guest on the show. We have her lined up again here in a little bit. So always a pleasure to see you, Candace. Hope all is well. Let's see. Scrolling through here. Brother Joe in the house. Station.
Hey,
Brother Joe. Always great to see you. We also got Eric in the house as well. Station. Eric.
Stash.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Oh, we got my man Leroy in the chat as well. Leroy's got some wicked collection, man. I'll tell you. He's right up there with like Morb and Paul. Like, crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. Good to see you, Leroy. Let's see. Scrolling through. We got my man Albert. Albert Loves Comics in the house. Happy New Year to you, Albert. Dude, I got something really cool in the mail from Albert. I want to do a post about it, so I will share that and probably go up tomorrow morning. But Albert, appreciate you, brother. I did get your package. Thank you, man. Excited to share that for sure. Hope you had a happy New Year. Let's see. We got Gore Vidal in the house. Gore, haven't talked to you in so long, man. Hope you're doing well. Yes, he enjoys listening to the Scott Summers show. I don't know if that's the new name for this or not, but we'll see. Always a pleasure, Gore. Let's see. Does Justin, does your shirt have Nightcrawler? I have the same shirt, but they put Beast. Oh yeah, they got Beast. Beast's down here. There's no Nightcrawler.
The Beast is the one wearing Chet's shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Albert, I got a pretty sweet gift in the mail today from my guy, and he is our guest next week on my channel.
There it is.
Albert, huge thank you for this. I'm gonna this is gonna go right into the OMNI X-Men book that I'm using this month or this year. So thank you, my brother, and I'm looking forward next day. Hey, there it is. Ooh, look at them. You got that little mustache.
Sniff. Love that one.
I got an evil cackling doom.
Oh, that's fire.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. We got Roscoe in the house as well.
Hey.
Station Roscoe. Happy New Year to you as well. And Mr. John Stout. What is going on, John?
John,
as well.
how you been, brother?
We got all the Johns in here tonight. Yeah, man. All right. Awesome. We'll appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Or if you're watching the replay, thank you. Let's get started, though. We got a very exciting issue to talk about here. Yes, there it is. John's got it. 161. I meant to pull out my copy. I couldn't find it at the moment. I'm still organizing. I got a bunch of BCW short boxes I'm still sorting and all that fun stuff. So you know how that goes. Yeah. But hey, we got the cover here. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts right off the bat, just on the cover alone. John, I'm going to kick it off with you first. What did you think specifically of this cover that we're looking at, the artwork?
I remember as a kid not knowing that wasn't Professor X in the background. I remember as a kid going like, what happened to Professor X? Why is Xavier so mad?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know Strucker and Baron Strucker, who obviously has shown up in Age of Ultron. But at the time, as a kid, I was not super familiar with him. So throwing him in this issue, I know was really confusing. The cover threw me off. So as a kid, I didn't like this cover a ton. I think it's really busy and much like this issue is like it feels like a throwback to Silver Age comics in a lot of ways. There's definitely an old school element to this. The angles are a little funny. Look at Magneto's hands. They're a little weird. The way the lines are coming off of him. So I don't love it. I do love the concept of Magneto and Xavier when they were younger teaming up like that. That I think is very interesting. I don't think this cover sells that very well, but whatever.
Fair enough. And I'm with you there. I, for the longest time, didn't really. I just assumed that was like Professor X, like cracked out or something, like just going through some motions, or something.
Like people think Arcade is on the cover of what is it, 1045 or whatever.
114, or 130. Yeah.
That's favorite cover. Everybody's like, oh, look, there's Arcade.
Yeah. Yep. Phable, what about you? What are your thoughts on this cover?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you guys. I thought that was Professor X too. I didn't know that was Paris. I was like, oh man, what's going on with Professor X?
Yeah.
And I gotta agree. I didn't really, it's a ho hum regular cover to me. But after reading the issue, it's one of the covers that actually represent the story inside, if you know what's going on, and that doesn't happen too often these days. I mean, I'm reading comics where the cover is totally off, like this guy wasn't even in the book.
Yeah, you're like, where's Venomized Mary Jane Watson? I don't understand. It's not
but yeah, I thought it was a pretty normal cover, passable, whatever, just serviceable. But after reading the story, I kind of dig it.
Nice. I mean, I will say it definitely stands out in that, the bright yellow. I feel like it's recognizable. And yeah, once you read it and you know what this is all about, like it definitely kind of, it assists with that. And, I'll now look at this book differently now that I've read this compared to how I might have glanced over it in the past. So yeah, definitely agree with you guys there. A couple other people in the chat. We got my man, Nick. Station Nick. Good to see you as always. Nick. Hope you had a happy new year. And we got Bobby Delgado as well. Station for Bobby coming through. So Candace agreed too. She said, not gonna lie, I thought that was Professor X. Took me quite a few panels to realize it wasn't. Until we really meet this Strucker guy, it's not it's not clear. So totally there with you. All right, well let's get into this then. Let me switch over here. So right off the bat, it's called Gold Rush. Trying to figure out why, going into this. Yeah. So a few months ago, I had posted a reel with this as I opened up this omnibus for the first time. When I first opened the packaging and everything, I had made like a reel on Instagram and used that song, These Eyes. I can't remember the artist. And I happened to open to this page and I zoomed in on Professor X there. So I'll forever remember this splash page. But so we get the opening scenes. As we all know from the last issue, Professor X has been in this a coma over the past couple issues now, ever since the whole attack and everything. So and then the Brood and everything else that was going on, they tried to revive him, or not revive him, but tried to save him a couple times in a couple different ways. Hasn't been working. But yeah, we get some really interesting artwork here. John, what do you think of this this initial splash page that we're looking at?
Well, it definitely takes you right back to where we left off, right? All the Brood, Shi'ar storylines that we had kind of left aside. The previous issue was a focus on Illyana Rasputin and the character that will eventually become Magic, and seeing her age rapidly through going into the underworld and all of this kind of stuff. So it was a very different issue, far separate from this. So they needed to kind of like jump us back in, and they do it quite abruptly here with this splash page right off the bat. So in that way, it's very effective. I want to say hello to JD in the chat. What is going on, Raging Cajun, my JD. Man?
Good to see you, man.
And so, yeah, in that way, I think it really works. I like the floating heads. It's a classic Marvel style, right? The floating, very Kirby-esque floating heads there. And I know X-Men has their fans that love them on Earth versus the fans that love them in outer space. And then, they don't always mix. I love it all, but for me, I love a good Brood story. So seeing the Brood floating head there always psychs me up. Like I'm down for more Brood, which is kind of what I'm pumped for in this volume anyway. So to get back to it always jacks me up a little bit.
Nice. Bobby says, I hope somebody will put in eye drops for the Professor X. Yeah, with you there for sure. Phable, pass it over to you. What did you think of this splash page when we open up this issue?
Yeah, I agree with John, man. Total nostalgia. As soon as I saw this page, it brought back all those memories of early X-Men and Marvel style, like you said, with the floating heads and things. And the Brood here looks pretty awesome. That's a pretty cool drawing of the Brood. And I love the the demonized versions of these X-Men characters. It would take you back to the issue that we were on before, where they went to that dream world and everybody was like this.
Like they're doppelgangers,
yeah. So I love it, man. I think it's great.
Nice, yeah. I especially like the Nightcrawler one. That he looks scary for sure. Actually, Cyclops too look pretty scary. Yeah, they got the sharp teeth and everything going. No, I'm with you for sure. Let's see. Yeah, Bobby agreed. Cyclops looks pretty cool like that. Yeah. Too bad he's not cool. Too bad he's not. Cool. All right, next. Let's get into this next couple pages here. So. A lot kind of happens here just to open things up. We get the team surrounding Professor X.
Wait.
Yes, I feel some type of way.
Did JP make the slideshow? And I feel like the shot being taken at our guy tonight.
I'll tell you.
One was overt. This one's a little more subtle, but what's going on here?
Yeah, definitely feeling some type of way on these particular scenes. So, we get, like I said, we get the team. They're all surrounded. They're concerned for Professor X. They talk about all the different ways they've tried to pull him out of this trance. Things have not happened. And then we get a flash to, off on the distance here, this middle panel that we're looking at. Cyclops goes off looking into the sunset. Storm joins him. And at first, it's kind of a nice conversation. They're talking about, he like compliments her. It's like, is this your doing here? This beautiful, view that we have. And she's like, oh, I wish, it's Mother Nature, just naturally, and all this stuff. Nice little opening. But then out of nowhere, Cyclops just starts taking shots at Storm, talking about the big accident that we had from last issue. Was it last issue or 2 issues? Am I mixing it up now? 2 issues ago.
Cyclops wasn't in the last one.
Yeah. So talking about the Pentagon, when they had that whole ruckus going on with Rogue, and he basically blames her as she looks at the front page. She goes, yeah, so, I came across this newspaper and boom, here you go. What's this all about? We can't be doing this. He even says, he goes, this kind of publicity is something the X-Men can ill afford right now. For pity's sake, woman, we're supposed to be superheroes. Like, come on, man. How are you going to go from like complimenting and being all nice about the sunset and oh, is this you're doing this beautiful art? And then just throwing this in her face, blaming her for this. A lot of, friction, right, going on. And then
she feels like Phable.
Blamed. Yes, she's totally being blamed. And then on the next page, he's just like, sorry, my bad. Sorry. I'm upset. I'm sorry.
I like Justin's line readings on this. I don't know if anybody's appreciating the drama level he's
new year, new me. I'm coming into this strong.
Yeah, you're coming in like hot, like JP here. I love it.
Yeah, feeling some type of way. So I'm very curious what you guys thought of this little back and forth here. Like I said, Cyclops does pull it back in the second issue. Forgive me, yada yada yada. At that point, I'm like, all right, dude, you're an a-hole, man. John, what did you think of some of these scenes here? And quick hello to Kenneth Bird hanging out with us. Good to see you, Kenneth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like him here. I think firstly, it's because he's ragging on my girl. Like,
right.
That's another thing.
Right. It's who he's talking to.
Like, talk to Logan like that, fine. But Storm like that, we got a problem.
He always needs a talking to. So yeah, I do agree. One of the flaws in this issue for me is that the writing is not, the dialogue is not nearly as good as Claremont usually is. It doesn't feel as strong. It doesn't feel as on point. Everything feels a little more unedited, a little more raw. Like it just hasn't been gone over yet. So in this scene, it does feel a little bit like a roller coaster. And that's frustrating. And there's a few scenes that fall into that category for me in this particular issue. So that for me, it feels like a writing fail less than a character fail. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this feels like a Silver Age comic in a lot of ways. It does have that vibe of like late Silver Age Spider-Man, where it's just kind of like a lot of talking, a lot of roller coasters, ups and downs, and you just hustle from one thing to the next. So there's a little bit of that happening here.
Don't try to deflect and blame Chris Claremont on this. All right, you're deflecting right now. I'm gonna pass it to Phable. Phable, what did you think of this whole fiasco?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a little abrupt. As soon as I read it, I said, "Oh, this is the reason why people don't like him." This stuff right here. But I don't know. It is abrupt, but it is a characteristic that he has. Right. And it's something that is developed where I don't, I read a lot of modern comics. You guys know I don't really read too much of this stuff. And I can tell you, man, there's a lot of samey sounding characters. This kind of thing separates these people a little more. Even though you're right, I do feel like it is up and down a little too fast. But I don't know. It adds texture. These little conversations, and I love Storm when she's drawn with these eyes. I don't know who's responsible for like doing this caricature of Storm, but I want them to do this.
It feels like a Cockrum thing that has kind of like bled through the Byrne era, because Cockrum obviously kicked us off and still going because he drew this issue. But that cat's eye kind of thing that she's got going, it feels very Cockrum to me, but maybe somebody in the chat might disagree.
Well said. Well said. Quick hello to 62 Lefty Blues. Hope you had a happy New
Hey,
Year
happy
as well,
New Year.
62. Appreciate you swinging by here.
Stick around, Lefty, because my 2 questions tonight are setting up comedy geniuses like yourself. So be ready.
Yes. Yes. A lot of good stuff to come here. Yeah. So let's get into the next bit here. Had to bring this up. You know, you have Lilandra trying to give her, she gives her speech, this emotional moment. And I just put this gif because I just picture her, you don't see this, but this is what she's doing, right? She's trying to shake things a little bit. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, powerful words here, trying to really just talk to him and hope that he hears her through this this challenging time, this him being knocked out like this essentially. So encouraging him to keep fighting whatever it is. I like that they had this cool angle of like his face here, and then you see the teardrop fall on his cheek from her. So I thought that was well done. I thought that was worth blowing up there. And then we get go right switching gears here to where Charles is mentally, where things get flashed back and he's in his own mind, his own prison here, and flashing back to his days of being in Caro, which we had seen in issue 117, which is referenced here even where we get Farouk, that whole battle. This is technically supposed to have taken place like right after that. So I like that this kind of ties that stuff in, brings us back to those good days. And immediately we see him getting greeted by this guy, Daniel. We don't know as much about him, but he's an old friend of Charles, and he wants to introduce him to somebody, and that somebody is Magneto. From my understanding, their first time meeting, at least in this flashback, if you call it. So, getting some history, some detail. And I think that was, obviously a big part of this as we get more into it. They even have, as you could see on the right-hand side, he notices, the numbers on his arm, from the Holocaust and bringing that up. So, getting more reference about his family and everything else. He says he doesn't have a family. But so they're working together now, and they have this particular patient. Her name is Gabby or Gabrielle, who, as you can see on the right hand side, who she herself is in this like daze where she hasn't been able to talk or react or show any type of emotion, as she's also trapped. And this is the whole reason as to why they wanted to bring Professor X in to begin with, to try to go into her mind and figure out what is going on with her. It is cool how they kind of showed this, because on the right you see Professor X's like mind going into hers, but it even states like while he's doing this, technically like nothing's happening from the outside, like Magneto and them just kind of staring at him staring at her. So I like that they like took a little moment to like share that, but I like the artwork there. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so we meet this girl Gabby. What do you guys think of kind of these opening scenes of really where the story starts, right? This flashback scenario, getting more glimpse, and again with Magneto coming into play, a much younger Magneto. Phable, what are your thoughts here on just like the direction that this is going?
I find it real interesting. Like, if you put yourself in the context of when these issues were coming out, and they're just like exploring Magneto, how they met. I mean, this is major right here. A lot of context. I feel like, because I haven't read the issue before or previous whatever how many issues before, I feel like I'm missing a little bit here and there when I'm reading this stuff. But it's the magic of Claremont, right? You read everything and he ties it all together at some point, and it all comes back into play at some point. So this is why you love him. Yeah, it was really cool. It's imaginative. It's like, this guy was in Israel, and he was working for this, his friend's what is it, a psych ward? I don't know what it is that they have there.
It's basically a spot
institution.
They define it as some place for refugees, people who are coming out of these Holocaust camps and needing special help.
Basically, they have like PTSD, like to the max. Like they're just, and what I found interesting is that I don't think his buddy knows that he's got powers.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. So that means they he was hiding that for a long time.
Yeah, he's just going off of knowing that Professor X has dealt with these types of situations before, however he's done it. And as he's made it kind of a name for himself. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Quick shout out here to Mad Spidey hanging out with us. What's going on? Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thanks for hanging with us as well. Yeah, agreed, Bobby. Magneto looks so young and full of hope,
but still just as like shredded with abs as ever.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to pass to you, John. Before I do want to go to this next set of panels here. Some wicked stuff here where we see as he enters her mind, Gabby's mind, he sees what's going on and the battle that's going on in her head here. Really, really dig the artwork. John, I'll pass it over to you. What are your thoughts on this? These opening scenes, meeting Gabby, meeting Magneto, the combination of the two, and then this artwork, these panels here.
So to Candace's comment, I loved finally seeing this backstory. Like, this is the first time that they've given officially Magneto a Holocaust connected backstory. They hadn't done that before. So anyone feeling like Phable, like they felt like they missed something, the truth is this is Claremont trying to retcon the Magneto character. He really wanted to humanize the character who had been kind of a flat villain for a lot of the early stories. And he wanted them to have a storyline where they knew each other beforehand, where they came across each other philosophically and logistically and had to deal with one another. So in that way, it's a reinvention. This is a character that's been reinvented a lot. They call him Magnus in this issue. But of course, if you've only seen the X-Men movies, you might know him as Eric, right? They've changed his name at different points, the names he's used at different times. So this is the ongoing evolution of Magneto from his early appearances in the first 80 something issues of X-Men. And then when Claremont took over in 94, he had a vision for kind of what he wanted to do with Magneto. And this issue is really at the core of that change. Right. As far as Gabby is concerned, fans of X-Men know her as the mom of Legion. So the TV show Legion centered around David Haller, her son, that she's going to have with Professor X. And the character of Legion, if you're reading Legion of X or Way of X right now, those X-Men books, David is Legion. That's her son, and his incredible psychic abilities that he gets from his dad, all kind of stemming from them first meeting right here and her falling in love with Professor.
This is a huge issue then. Yeah.
So in that way, this is definitely a book. Yeah, this is a linchpin book as far as backstory goes, which is kind of, I think, what Candace is hitting on in a big way.
That was what I was questioning too as I was reading this, because I am reading the Legion stuff. I think I'm an issue or two behind of the new stuff, but
so that's
knowing who Gabby is. Yeah, so I was like, okay,
David's mom. Yeah, so Gabby Haller, and then David Haller is Legion's real name.
That's so
if
cool.
You've seen the show, by the way, I love the TV show Legion. If you haven't seen it,
Legion,
I haven't seen it.
Wild, really, it is one of the most buck wild shows.
Wow,
phenomenal. It's just really good. And so David Haller is that character, and this is his. I mean, I don't want to say you don't see like this is not his creation issue. We're not seeing him be birthed or anything like that.
Right.
But this is obviously the beginning of his character.
Damn. Candace said all I knew was from the X-Men movie. Yep. I mean, I'm there with you too. Candace.
Which is a lot of people. They're like, wait, he's Eric, is he Magnus, is he Magneto, and it's all kind of evolved over time. His name.
Yep. Bobby says, I hope Professor X had permission before he went inside her. I do too, Bobby. I do too.
Bobby.
I'm sure there was some sort of something signed when he was first there. Agreed, Chet. So love this artwork. Again, for me, just the lighting and everything, and the imagination, the creativity, just like we just get more of that, the craziness that we've been getting, throughout this whole journey of X-Men. So, really dig that. Then we get some other really cool panels here, and this is one of my favorites, is seeing the reliving of the war and the Holocaust. As you can see, this is again what he's seeing, the vision of what Gabby is reliving in this war, and some really heavy stuff. I mean, obviously a very heavy topic to begin with, and to bring all this into these characters and X-Men, in which we love. It's very heavy and emotional. Seeing some of the quotes and saying, as she describes, the lucky ones were gassed, their bodies cremated, but Gabby is beautiful, and the guards like her, so she doesn't get the same treatment as the rest of everyone else around her. They have this depiction of this ogre, as this Nazi general. And then going down at the bottom here, you can see again, or closer look at the ogre there. They drag her, they mistreat her. She has this envision that she was like casted like a wand to turn to gold. This is all like descriptions in her own head of how she took her experiences. And not that it was quite literal of ogres and whatnot, but this was how she felt. This is what she saw within her own surroundings. Sorry, Jax here agrees with us on this stuff, so don't mind him.
He doesn't like the ogre either. None of us do, buddy. Nazis are the worst.
They are the worst. And then on the right hand side, we have her starting to wake up. She screams, "Mama!" This all unlocks the very thing Professor X was, essentially hired to do, to come here and help her get out of this daze. She bursts into tears. They put her to bed, like she's okay now, and his friend Daniel's like blown away, like, "Hey, you did it! You woke her up." And to hear the description, because then he shares like all the things that he saw within her mind, painting this very panel or sets of panels that we're looking at here. He found it fascinating. The one thing we do see, and this is where I put this creepy guy in the closet. I don't know what is exactly happening here, but Daniel's talking to Professor X. Talking about how we'll find out sooner or later what's going on. The important thing is that Gabby's finally fully conscious. My friend at a modest toast to Charles, they toast to him. And then some guy's in the closet, and then he reports back, or he says, a leader must be informed at once. So he's reporting to somebody. It's just someone that's a traitor of some sort. Again, I don't know how he got in the closet, what he's doing there. Very creepy stuff. But I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are of this depiction, this description of everything that went on in Gabby's mind. Phable, I'm going to pass it to you first, and I will also say a quick hello to the Ex-Wife podcast hanging out with us here. What's going on, gang? Hope you're all doing well. Happy New Year to you also.
And we got Old Wolf in the chat as well.
Tony, I missed you. Tony, Station Tony. Good to see you, my friend. So yeah, Phable, what are your thoughts here?
I love the nightmarish, world that she sees. In only 2 pages, they go from him going into her mind, fighting off some monsters, and then seeing all these things happening. And this might be some of what John's talking about, where it's like rushed a little bit, right? They would have probably spent a little more time on some of this stuff in something more modern, but at the same time, it's like a lot of stuff happens and every issue feels jam-packed with a lot. This is why we kind of maybe reread a lot of these things over and over again, because it's like, damn. And you're right, like the heavy tones here, where we're talking about the Holocaust and stuff like that. I mean, this is the stuff that reinforces Magnus's whole stance in life, right? Like he sees this, and this is just a reminder of him. They get like this because of religion. Imagine if they find out we have powers, like,
Yeah.
So it is heavy, and I kind of thought her turning into gold was a weird stretch. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, well, there's some stereotypes with Jewish people, right? And gold and things like that. So I'm like, man, it is really heavy. You really read into it. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And again, the whole like, hey, how'd you do that, man? How'd you knock her out of her catatonic state that she's been in for years?
Yes.
By just looking at her.
Yeah, really.
Love
it.
So
Well,
I love
well said. Well said. Hey, quick hello to Comics and Pops in the house. Alonzo from Team Nerd Herd podcast. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Bobby says, showing some love. Dave Cockrum. Yeah, man, I'm with you. One other quick hello I had missed, and I apologize. Evil Lair Projects and Builds hanging out with us as well. What's going on, Evil? Thanks for hanging out with us as well. John, thoughts here on this?
I like up a little ways. The Ex-Wife podcast said that Claremont was bringing the reality into the story, and that really worked for them. And for me, that's what this issue is really at its core. It's the reality versus the imagination, right? These two things are at war in a lot of ways here. Let's see. the far right middle box that we're looking at here, Xavier says something along the lines of all her other images in her mind were grounded in reality. Logically, then, so must this one. Meaning this isn't fantasy. This is not like clearly in her concentration camp, there were superpowered Nazis and there were people being transformed into gold. Like some of these things were happening. Now, we can't decipher how real or how fake. Where is the reality line? And obviously the beauty is bringing history into these comics, grounds them in a fun way when we're able to like historically say, Magneto was escaping persecution in Nazi Germany. That creates a real grounding for his character that I think people really can sympathize with. So the same is happening here for Gabby, and I think it's kind of interesting. And where the line of reality fits, that's where I feel like this story really lacks for me. There's not a lot of like explaining any of this stuff. It's just kind of like, I don't know why she turned to gold. Did she turn to gold? Who knows? Right. We're not going to do that. We're never going to go back and discuss this again. We're just going to move on.
Right.
So you end up being left with a lot of questions or loose ends. And I think that's where the issue kind of falls apart a little bit for me, is some of that stuff. I feel like you could have taken the time, just answer that for me. Like what? So nobody asked her, hey, what's with the gold thing? What's with you turning into gold?
So I feel like we do get answers down the road, right? I mean, later in this issue, not to jump the gun in this, but okay, right? So we'll get into that, but at this point where I'm reading this, I totally was, I was like, okay, it must be stand for something. It must, have some other representation,
because gold is significant to this issue as we get along here.
Right. So a lot of
as Lefty says, I like gold.
Yeah,
right. I was baffled too. I was like, that was a weird
story. JP
there's like talking about a wand and everything else. Oh, we got Nigel in the house. Station Desired Comics,
and JP just jumped in.
JP.
You missed the entire beginning where we were ragging on Cyclops. I felt good about doing it because you weren't watching.
JP, you got to rewind, man. You'll appreciate my words. So all right, let's keep this going here. Next up, I wanted to highlight this because again, just another kind of like a montage moment, kind of laying things out there.
Man, floating heads.
Yes, more floating heads. I appreciate these moments because it also allows you to kind of let your own creativity wander a little bit with what else might have happened. It's vague and it's it's high level, and the idea of this, as we can see, Gabby now returns. They ultimately spend a lot of time with her. That's what happens next, right? So it shows that they form this bond with Gabby, both Professor X and Magneto, and take her, to travel the world in places that she's been growing up, places maybe she missed out on that she hasn't been able to see. They talk about Galilee, to Jerusalem, where else? I thought they mentioned a couple others, but so a bunch of different places. And in doing so, you also get the conversation, or the bond, or the start of the discussion, I should say, between Professor X and Magneto on how they feel about how mutants, if they are real, how they should be looked at against the world. What would they have to do?
For me, like where's the moment when they realize that they're both mutants? Where's the moment when they're both like, oh, we both have a what?
Right.
There's none of that.
It's almost like assumed.
They skip some of those things that I think are significant moments that I feel like I don't want a montage of that. I want to dive deep on some of that.
Right. Which I don't know if we get that in other issues. I assume maybe we do. I really don't know out of the history, of everything, but no, you're right though. I mean, definitely these are some powerful moments, right? And I know we get some glimpses of it, in realization and people knowing things, as we get towards the back end of the issue, but we'll get there. But I do find it interesting as you already start to know. And again, as new readers, if you didn't know this stuff, like, think about back then, like you didn't know whose side was, who was on whose side really, other than, trying to get an understanding of where Magneto came from, or you knew him as this villain back in the day, back when, Stan Lee was writing him and all this stuff, and some of the earlier issues we've, broken down over the past 2 seasons. But, hearing his thoughts here on some of this stuff, again, we're used to it now. We've seen the movies, we've seen all these other angles, getting an understanding, at least for me, where it really has helped me to understand this panel. But I think that for a lot of people reading this at this time would be like, oh, okay, like this is kind of the angle that Magneto stands. He's not just a quote unquote villain. He has these beliefs. He has this way of thinking that that you could sympathize with or understand, at least going into this, even at a high level. So definitely still, some big moments there for sure. Quick hello to Something Wong. Haven't seen you in forever, my brother. Station. Had to say a quick hello. Everybody hanging out right now. We got 22 people. Appreciate all you in the chat right now. Thanks so much. Phable, thoughts here. I want to pass it to you before we move on. What did you think about this? Yeah, this montage of things and the floating heads.
Just a quick side note to what John was saying. I mean, I thought I was under the impression that he found out when Magnus took apart some machine, like all the pieces to the machine, and that was when, like, he looked up and was like, Magnus, like, saw him on the roof or something. Now Magnus assuming Charles is a mutant. Yeah, that was kind of a weird stretch, but I don't know. It might be one of those things where it's like, if you're part of the club,
Well,
yeah, I mean, they do mention too, like they have a feel, like they had like a vibe or a feel that something's different about this person. Yeah, like they kind of address that.
The thing on the roof with Magneto happens a little bit later. It's possible Xavier read his mind and just knew. I mean, obviously, we can't take that for granted.
He does say in the beginning that he had a hard time reading Magneto's mind when they first met. So I think that was the first kind of red flag of like, like his aura is different. Like there's something coming off of him that's different from any other Joe Schmo that's around me.
Yeah. But yeah, with this montage, I think it's great. It shows a lot with a little. It moves the story along because I think, John said earlier about the rushing part. I think some of this adds to it, but at the same time, it's like you just got to know that they spent time together. You don't got to know what the hell they were doing. You just got to know the basics before we move on to the next part of the story.
Yes.
But I mean, Claremont, man, he has so much gold here. He could have mined it, but he was just trying to get to a point. So I get it. I think it's fine. It moves the passage of time, and it lets us know that these guys got close.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Brother Joe says, John and Justin, you can ask Phable. Don't praise Cyclops because Brando won't like it. Yeah, no, we know that for sure.
We know that.
We know that for sure. Daryl says that this would be a 4 to 5 issue story arc. Right, agreed. Exactly. It could be a 12-issue miniseries, honestly. Yeah. Maybe that'll be redone one day. I would love that. I actually would appreciate that. So yeah, agreed. Well said, both of you guys. Going into these next parts here, and we talk a little bit about so now that we've got this little montage, now we understand in these next scenes coming up why he cares so much, for Gabby and why Gabby falls in love with him here. They have this little moment. They're coming back from dinner or whatever the case is, coming back to the hospital, to the I guess hospital, or I forget the name of it that John you said. But seeing this, one, Professor X is his mind is somewhere else because he's thinking about the conversations he's had with Magneto and his concerns for that type of thinking.
Instead of the hot woman in front of him,
right?
He even says like, "You don't really love me," and he's like, "I probably shouldn't do this."
Yes.
Like, damn, let's go. Let's go. No, this is 00X right here.
Right? This was definitely a 007 kind of vibe. Yeah. And his mind's elsewhere. He's like thinking about all these conversations and stuff like that. And she's like, hello, turning his face here and everything. We get that a lot in this issue where the word bubbles or the mind bubbles of him are off thinking of something else. And then his conversation's a little different. So I find that interesting. There were definitely times where I had to reread certain parts and notice if that word bubble was a cloud or more of a solid line, to see what was being said versus what
there was one
that
turned into both.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So you see him thinking
like cloud,
and it goes right in. So I had to double check myself on some of those. So as we have this nice little moment on the right, we get this, grenade. And boom, like explosions going like crazy. And this random, what looks to be like Ant-Man army comes in, these Ant-Man suits, these green Ant-Man suits. I'm getting ready for each of them to shrink down. You know, that's what I was waiting for. I'm like, what is Ant-Man doing here? You know, attacking the Israel troops as they're listed as here. You know, and they're questioning, like, are they Arab commandos? Are they terrorists? You know, who are they? They're speaking German. They have these advanced weaponry that they're equipped with. You know, what's going on? And of course, you know, acting quickly, Professor X tries to save the girl, you know, getting her rushed to the side. He does take a bullet in the head, though, which is pretty wild. And
he doesn't have any hair to buffer that. He needs some.
Nothing. This is why I wear a hat, at least something.
Wolverine wouldn't have even felt it. It would have just gotten caught in Wolverine's tangle.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, all that to jump right into this, and this is Phable, as you had mentioned, you know, seeing the building here, or the spaceship, I should say, as they're taking Gabby away, capturing her, just her. They don't care about anyone else. These guys are real rude, by the way. The top left panel, you know, saying, forget the old man, he's dead. She's screaming, Charles, no. And he goes, stop struggling. You know, she fights like a she-wolf. He goes, a pity about the orders. A broken jaw would quickly teach her to respect her better. He's like, man, who are these guys? Very rude. But then, yes, as you hinted to, Phable, you see the machine completely be taken control and ripped apart, all the different metals. And of course, we as readers know what's going on at this point. And then at that bottom left-hand corner, you see Professor X, just a hint of saying, who's that on the roof? It's Magnus on the roof. And then he comes running through, you know, telling him to get out. And a little interesting exchange in some of this stuff, right? He goes, Magnus, what did you do with the aircraft? He goes, I did what had to be done. My only regret was that I wasn't able to act sooner. And he goes, was it necessary to slaughter them, though? And again, this is going back and forth between their thoughts on the matter of how, you know, they should be fighting humans or using their powers. I am very interested to hear your thoughts, both of you, on, I mean, this is a bigger question and probably for another time, but I'm going to ask a brief version of it anyways. You know, who's in the right here? Who's in the wrong? What, you know, kind of where do you stand between the two of them and how they acted here in this particular, you know, show? And John, I'll pass it to you first. What are your thoughts here and throughout all these panels that we just kind of flip through?
It may sound odd coming from someone who works in education, but I do really need an extra large shirt that says Magneto was right, because Magneto was right. Like, I agree with
Yes.
Magneto in a big way. I like Professor Xavier's compassion. The problem is, over the years, Xavier's really flubbed it a bunch, and he's really blown it a ton of times. And been probably a bigger hindrance than he has been help. Versus Magneto, who's really stayed the course, I think, and I think as he clearly, but neither one of them is complete without the other, right? It's a yin and yang kind of thing where they do complete each other in a big way.
Yeah,
totally.
And Magneto needs to be tempered the same way that Xavier needs to be steeled, right? They both need to be strengthened by one another. I do tend to love Magneto more as a character, just because I sympathize with characters who maybe have a real dogma but are struggling to find the right path with it. And I think he reminds me a lot of characters like Poison Ivy that I really admire and think are interesting as villains, because they're not wrong. They're just not solving it the best way they possibly can.
Right.
So yeah, I like Magneto a lot. And I think these scenes moving into the finish of this story is so strong for Magneto, because I think you really see the birth of the villain that we know and love, that you're seeing floating there with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah. By the way, quick hello to Dan Delator. Good to see you, Dan. Hope you had a happy new year. Phable, what are your thoughts here? Kind of what John has talked about, and just your general thoughts on, you know, whose side you choose, at least in this, you know, in this moment, in this situation.
Well, first thing that hit me about this is just the total imagination, right? The scene of the machine being pulled into a million pieces. I mean, I couldn't imagine being an artist for this guy. You know, when let's go into her mind, she's fighting some creatures, and then he finally breaks through, and then she's seeing Nazis that look like this, and, you know, now we're here, and Magnus shows up, and he's just like pulling. I mean, well, first of all, Hydra shows up with all their futuristic ships and stuff out of
Yes.
nowhere.
Yeah.
And Magnus comes just like Fassbender looks in the picture there and just rips these things into pieces. And it's just, this is before CG graphics. This is before we could even imagine this stuff. And this guy's writing these things. So that's the first thing that struck me. It's just, man,
that's interesting because I hadn't thought of it as like we had Kirby with the floating heads, we had Steranko with the fighting of the Hydra. Now you're talking about we had the Buscema like psychedelic outer space stuff. This is Cockrum really is pulling out all the stops. I think about it.
Yeah, he's making them work.
Right, brother Joe.
He's definitely earning that check there. That issue.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so that struck me immediately. And then when you get to the philosophies and stuff, man, I'm yin yang too, man. I'm right down the middle. Sometimes I feel like Charles. Sometimes I feel like Magnus. You know what I mean? In this case, you know, you come showing up to my lawn trying to steal my homegirl. Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Professor X, you know, I think that's why Professor X, like John said it perfectly. They see each other. They see a bit of themselves in each other. And I'm pretty sure that when he asked him, you have to slaughter them. And he's like, hell yeah. And Charles was like, I don't like that, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Isn't that the sign of a good character dynamic when you can look at both characters?
Yeah.
There's that opening scene in the original X-Men movie when you have Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, and they're just talking about like, you know, I'll bring you what you want, but just don't get in my way. And like you have them like speaking to each other in ways where you're like, you're both right. Please don't fight. Please, mommy and dad, don't fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's just so interesting that this is like, you know, this kicks off like so much of all the different conflicts that we see, you know, that are well known, whether you watch the movies or you've read the more recent comics or, you know, the things that Hickman has done and bringing them together despite their differences, like all that stems from, or, you know, this is where it all started, you know?
Yeah, this is, I didn't realize how much of a like impactful issue this was, because even when you said about Xavier not living up all the way to his potential, the way he, you know, describes it, you see that here when he throws it all away to kiss the girl.
Right.
Like this is a being. He's like, you know what? F it. And this is an attitude he's going to carry on. So yeah, this is
that's I would say is one of the biggest differences between them is that Xavier doesn't hold true to his morals the way that Magneto does. Magneto is like a rock. He just will not break.
Right.
And Magneto, and then you have Xavier full of doubt, who's like, I shouldn't be doing this, but dang, she's hot.
Yep. Dan talking about his goals, to regain the Claremont run. This is probably a good time, as he said. A lot of prices coming down.
Awesome.
You know, take advantage of what you can afford for that for sure. Definitely agree.
Daryl, don't wonder where Cyclops gets it from, right? Like he was raised by this guy. So,
oh yeah.
Dan, if you're on Instagram, find me because I'm trying to upgrade some of mine. So if I get an upgrade and I've got a copy that you might want, if I keep you in mind when that happens, I'll let you know because I'm trying to upgrade a handful of the early ones.
Yeah,
nice. Hell yeah,
love it. One other thing I wanted to note here before I move on. I love this little demonstration when the doctor Daniel comes running, says, you know, hey, we got a prisoner, you know, but he won't identify the attackers, things like that, and they're talking about it. And this guy who's speaking German talks, you know, calls him a Jewish swine and all this stuff. Never going to tell you. And we get to see a little bit of a flex, you know, Professor X, you know, being able to read his mind and how he says that there. So what does he say at the end? He goes, Rudolph Kranz, Major, now a squad leader for something called the Hydra. And he goes, how could you have known? He goes, that's easy. Air Kranz, I read minds. And it just like zooms in on his eyes.
I love that, right? The eyes. And you see that he has
So
been affected even in a short time by Magneto.
Yes.
He's like, I'm going to break my rules because it's worth it. Like there, that stealing of his philosophy by Magneto, I think is great. And of course, the way they have the camp with the waterfall going up the side, I love that.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So that kind of brings us into like a 2 day later, you know, fast forward. They just say it's mentioned as due south is where we kind of lead off. And we immediately jump into the Hydra who's been traveling. You knew I had to do this. So we get these guys that are running around the corner saying, "Hey, we found the cave! We found the cave!" And of course we get introduced to Baron Strucker, officially now. And this is where we're starting to get the hint of where the story is going, right? So they are using Gabby, who has the knowledge or the information to find this cave that apparently has a lot of wealth, a lot of gold involved. And that's where, a lot of this is going. Even going back and explaining a little bit of her turning, quote unquote, turning into gold, things like that. I think it was more of like a metaphor of her becoming even more valuable to them, to Hydra, because they placed this information in her head. So she basically is the way to the gold. And so that's where we see
Did they really explain that? Because I feel like
that's how I got.
They legit don't say.
They don't.
Like, oh, she totally knew, and that memory of being turned into gold wasn't literal, and she knows where we keep the gold here.
Right.
None of that is explained. It's all just kind of like.
That's how I took it, though. That's how I took it as I was reading. Was I immediately was like,
the only way to take it, I guess.
Yeah, like they used her to find the cave to find the gold. Oh, so in her own mind, she was the thing to unlock the gold, essentially.
I mean, sure.
So that's how I had come to it. Whether if it's not Sid plain out.
Well, the part that is missing to me is that they torture her to get this information out of her, and they don't show that. Yeah, that they should have shown, because maybe they could have gave more context to the fact that she knew where this gold was.
Definitely. Right. At least a panel or two. Not that they'd even have to show stuff, but just as a way to kind of demonstrate, right, big, or in a tent or something, So we get to meet this guy, Baron Strucker, which at that bottom middle corner there, we see that Professor X and Magneto are actually undercover. They've quote unquote borrowed a couple suits from these guys, the Hydra, and are dressed up. So I love this. I love that they're in this mission following along. And then on the right-hand side, we see them in the cave, leading to the gold. And their plan is basically, let's wait until they breach the wall, and hopefully they get distracted by all the gold and whatever else is in there, and we can go and take Gabby and maybe even take out Strucker along the way. That's like, between the two of them. And so, yes, we see the massive, obnoxious, stack of gold neatly, placed. I just feel like it's a
I legit thought he was flying in front of it or jumping. I thought it was like yay!
Oh yeah.
But he's actually, if you look close, he's standing on it. There's they made little stairs of gold so that he could stand on the gold when giving the big speech to the Hydra troops. Who were like, "Yay, boss! Good job."
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like the moment in Dark Knight when Joker is standing on the pile of money.
Yeah, and he slides down.
Ready to burn it.
Totally.
Yes, they could dress like stormtroopers, Bobby. Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
A little too short for a stormtrooper, but it'll work.
Totally. And then, of course, we get them on the breakout here. This is some of the coolest stuff.
Look how ready this guy was. He's already
all over
Star Wars gift right
New year,
there.
new me. That's all I'm saying.
We were just talking about the first Star Wars movie, and there's Obi-Wan right there, bro.
All on it, man. So we see the outcome. We see them make their move essentially, and I love seeing the scene with Magneto taking care of the bullets. He goes against bullets, my friends. I need no help. Like, just love the lines here, the confidence and the cockiness that comes out of him as he takes care of that. Meanwhile, Professor X grabs the girl, jumps, hides behind a rock, and then gets discovered by 4 more Hydra. Who he then basically says these aren't the droids that you're looking for, and they start arguing with each other. Like, wait, you see them? See what? What are you talking about? Are you saying that you don't see what I see? Like, and he turns them into fighting each other, which we see on the right hand panel. I really like this. I thought this was fun. I thought it was a great idea.
It's straight out of The Hobbit, where they trick the trolls into fighting each other until they get turned to stone, right?
Yes. So much fun. Really enjoyed this. And then them together now agreeing, working out which direction they want to go. Brilliant stratagem. Charles, as Magneto says, he says, one day, my friend, that squeamishness will cost you. Then he goes on to ask, what ails Gabby? Gabby's back in her like coma again.
Catatonic state, yeah.
Yes, catatonic state. So not good for her. So they're gonna have to work that out. But yeah, Phable, what did you think of some of these panels here? Just going through the motions and seeing the bullets being stopped and Professor X doing his thing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought it was, you know, them showing off their powers and the things that they can do. Because didn't he control some of the agents, X, in these panels? Like he took control of them.
He tricks them into like fighting each other, basically.
Right, exactly. Oh, he gets them more upset or something like that.
Mad at each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Magnus stopping the bullets. Again, one of those things where it's like, this is what they were looking at when they made these movies, these live action things, and made all this, you know, CG. This is what you wanted to bring to life.
Yes.
It's so awesome seeing it. Yeah, no, it's great action. It's crazy. He goes from this to that to this to that in a matter of 2 pages.
Yes, yeah. Totally agree. John, anything to add there?
No, I think you got it. I think it's very entertaining to see them at the young age learning to use their abilities, questioning one another and what they're doing. And yeah, it's fun. But I really want to get to the next page.
Let's jump into it. Bobby says Magneto looks like Quicksilver.
This bugged me a little bit.
All right, let's hear it.
We've got Baron Strucker with like the gauntlet, which we've never seen up to now, but apparently he's got this metal gauntlet. And he's going to fight Magneto. But the very first panel is Magneto looks at it and goes, what? Strucker with a metal glove? And he's got to dodge a punch. And I'm like, okay, Magneto, somebody just shot bullets at you. And in the second that bullet flew, you were able to block it. This guy swings a metal glove and you got to dodge it? Then he talks to the guy. He lets the guy monologue a little at him. And he swings again. And Magneto has to dodge it again. Magneto dodges this guy's metal glove twice before he realizes, you're gonna fight me with a metal glove? And so he crushes the guy's hand. He crushes him with the metal glove and then just sort of pushes him aside and is like, I take your gold. It's my gold now. This is my gold now. You don't get no gold. This is my gold now. I love all of that. I just think it's hilarious that he has to dodge the punch twice.
Yes.
They used up 4 panels for the villain to monologue and try to punch the master of magnetism with a metal glove. I just needed 1 panel of that. And then and then you give me a big like Magneto does this, and the next panel is like Strucker just screaming in pain as his hand gets crushed. That's what I really wanted from this.
Yeah.
I was laughing the whole time going, you're really gonna dodge that punch 2 times? 2 times?
Missed opportunity there. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. He catches you by surprise. You're like, oh dang. But then he monologues and swings at you again, and you dodge it again.
Yeah. I think Magneto's just flexing here, because even after this, though, he's just toying with him, right? Yeah, totally. I mean, even these next panels, within one hand, wave of a hand, he takes the gold, he takes the girl, he takes Professor S, shoots them all up into out of the cave.
2 pages,
easy, boom, bada bing, bada boom. So he's the man in this. He's absolutely the man.
Oh, it's so good, right?
Phable, what are your thoughts on this? Monstrous.
I feel like a total idiot because John, I didn't get any of that. I was like, damn, John's right. I'm so stupid.
He said, I'm so stupid.
What I got was like when Strucker pulled out the glove. You remember A Nightmare on Elm Street when Freddy pulls out the power glove? He's like, "You forgot the power glove." That's what I thought he was doing. Like,
wasn't that number 3? Wasn't that number 3?
Yeah,
oh God.
Oh my God.
That's what I thought.
What a great 80s reference from Phable there.
But then when he crushed it, I thought it was awesome. I was like, hell yeah, man. Crush, that was a dumb move with the metal glove. But the other thing that struck me with this is this is probably the weakest panel. The other page where he's dragging the gold up the hole.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah, this is totally the art in here looks
like the bricks going up and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks pretty rushed.
Like I could draw that. I think I could draw that.
Yeah.
And shout out to Krista, who raises a phenomenal you can tell Krista wasn't sleeping in science class when they were talking in high school, because this bugs the shit out of me too. Metal So just so you guys know, some metals are magnetic, some metals are not. Gold doesn't magnetize. Gold does not magnetic. So he should not be able to float bricks of gold around unless he surrounds them with other magnetic metals. Not all metal is magnetic. The way you know is if you've got a magnetic phone case, try sticking it to metal. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it don't stick. So gold, just so you know, like my gold ring, it's not magnetic. It should not float through the air as easily as he's doing here.
Maybe these are not 100% gold bricks. I don't know.
Yeah, man,
I got nothing.
What he should
make
do.
Me feel stupid again.
He should be shredding the glove off of Strucker and attaching a little piece to each gold bar and then floating it all up.
Maybe he did that. Maybe he did that. Just saying. Maybe, as Chet said, there was a magnetic force bubble. The classic magnetic force bubble.
Get that flying wagon crap out of here.
You don't see the wagon here, but it's there. It is there. Yes, Tony. Yeah, 100% pure gold. It does look it. It does look it. Jackson Roy Kirk. Yeah, remember the flying wood classic wagon. The classic wagon. We got to go back to that issue. All right, let's keep it going here. Yes, we get some scenes here at the end where Magneto basically takes the money.
He says,
"I'm not gonna
money now."
Yeah. He goes, "Do you really need to ask?" He goes, "What are you gonna do with all that gold? Do you really need to ask?" Now this is interesting where he says, "You are far too trusting, Charles, too naive. You have faith in the essential goodness of man. In time, you will learn what I have learned, that even those you love will turn from you in horror when they discover what you truly are. Mutants will not go meekly to the gas chambers. We will fight, and we will win." And then he takes off. So, like, again, just to put a stamp on some of the heavier discussion that we talked about between the two, where they stand. I loved that. I thought that was great. Aside from the obnoxious set of gold that he flies off with and everything else. So yeah. And then of course, on the other side, the other panels, Gabby does wake up. She snaps out of it. She starts to remember certain things. And he kisses her. And then we see at that last panel there, he wakes up, and a lot of it goes back to how he saved Gabby is the same way we saw Lilandra kind of root him on and cheer him to say, keep fighting, do whatever it is, the dream, the thing that you're in right now, just keep doing that and figure your way out. So I kind of like how that tied.
I'm going to make Justin answer this question because this is what really bugs the shit out of me in this issue. How does Xavier remembering this story make him wake up?
It's just the same thing he did to the girl, to Gabby, is what is my take on it. So he went in the beginning, the first time when he first goes, wakes her up and helps her, fights her demons, was kind of what Lilandra did, sort of, to encourage her to like continue doing what he's doing, that's kind of how I took it. It is a stretch for sure. I feel
like I needed a full page of explanation just to understand what the point of this was in waking Xavier up. Like it's a cool story, but like how does that memory wake Xavier up? I'm like, what?
I think it was just the idea that it was somewhat similar, just that he had gone into her mind, helped her, encouraged her to keep fighting her, because he didn't mess with anything when he was in there. He realized he couldn't. He had to let her, but he did push her, to fight through that. So in the same vein, to some degree, not that Lilandra went into his mind, but she did shout to him. And as I, put the gif of her, shaking him, waking him up, I do think that just the, the encouragement or the hope that she had kind of sent to him again, in her own way, helped him get through that. So it's just, like I said, it is a stretch for sure. But I think that was kind of how I took it, as why this story in particular related to
also why just because of how great you've used them. I'm definitely including at least one Dave Chappelle gift next week. That is a phenomenal.
How great is that?
Perfect.
So perfect. Hey, we got Rogue collecting in the house station. Hey. What's going on, Rogue? So that's my thoughts. Phable, anything to add there to what John was saying, or anything just in general with some of these scenes that we're looking at?
Well, first, I just love this dynamic you two have going on, where John's pointing out all the flaws, you're making all the excuses, and then you're both like
defending, baby.
You're both like, I love this stuff. No matter what stance you take, I love it. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious when Magnus is taking all that gold. Like, he's a billionaire. With that
He's like, deuces, I'm out of here.
This is how he paid for the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in X-Men issue 1. He paid for all those guys, and this is the gold that paid for it.
I was gonna say Asteroid M, because how else are you gonna freaking get a station on an asteroid space? You know, you need a lot of gold. And yeah, I agree with John with the abruptness of it. Like, how does this wake him up? Like, what does this do to trigger him to wake up? I did get that idea, but hearing Justin explain it, I could see that. It's not so much of a weird stretch. He did help her, and now she's helping him. That makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah, I think that makes a little.
But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I thought him running away, because he's like, first I'm gonna murder people, and then I'm gonna take all their money.
Yep.
It's like, are you the same guy I've been hanging out with months for birthday?
Right,
like, holy crap.
I love Krista says, if my man wakes up talking a different girl's name, there's gonna be words.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. It's so good, Krista. Yeah. We're gonna have a little bit of a problem here. I'm with you there, Krista. That's so funny. Yeah, one thing to note here, Daryl said, to answer your question, John, he said it was just an excuse generally to tell a young Charles and Magneto story. He said, kind of like the Shadow King, the 117, which I could totally see that too. Yeah, so it's interesting because like you both said, like there's some really significant stuff in here, even though it's all just somewhat of a flashback in his own mind in some other situation. You know, it's
and the Shadow King is ultimately the great nemesis of David Haller Legion, whose mom is Key and Gabby, this character, right? So we're those two issues relate a ton to one another in the future, and the whole Legion television series is David Haller Legion dealing with the Shadow King, and that relationship, these two incredibly powerful telepaths sort of feeding toxically off of one another.
Right. Yeah, hell yeah. He probably had this stuff so mapped out, and he's like, I gotta get to this part before I can get here, so I'm gonna do this right now, which is great because character building, man. This guy's amazing at it.
Well, and I always really liked Legion as a character. For those that don't know, this is Xavier's son, who I think suffers from telepathy versus his father, who thrives with this ability of telepathy. I think that the difference between how they both deal with the same mutant power, I find very interesting, because I can't imagine somebody having that ability and not losing their mind. Can you imagine just trying to filter out or stop hearing other people's voices and other people's visions all the time? How complicated that would be. I think I can see far more realistically somebody like Legion, David Haller, than somebody like Charles Xavier, who just like thrives under those conditions. I think that's a rarity. And I always really felt like those were very interesting discussions.
Yeah. Quick hello to Sean in the chat here. Slim, my man. Hey. Happy New Year. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you swinging by as well. Still got 20 people hanging with us. Appreciate all of you for sticking through this. John, I don't know how I was so determined to at least get the story part done by 10 o'clock.
And we haven't asked Phable his bullet questions.
Oh my God, you're right. I totally skipped that.
Don't worry, I got a plan for it.
All right, great. All right, good. So let's get to the end here. I love this issue, so I'm really digging this. So here we are. We are, now that Xavier is awake and people are partying, they want to get there's a yacht, there's a spaceship yacht that they have, and Lilandra's going
She's
back.
An empress, dude. Don't underestimate
I know, you're right.
That's basically true. Owns a solar system. She's like true. She's got the drip to handle like a party ship.
That's true. This is nothing. Yeah,
that family is the like Kardashian family of Yar.
I mean, yeah, they got the cool outfits and everything. That's for sure.
I mean, right?
And the hair. So as we see, they're cheersing, they're talking. I know they brought up Ileana here for a moment as they referenced last issue. The Starjammers, they flash over to this party going on as they're congratulating, and then Lilandra goes and does a cheers here to thanking being back where she is, having Professor X back and awake, and as she does, she goes into this daze very much like Gabby did, or even Professor X did, with the crazy googly eyes, as she essentially falls, and they say, "Yo, Your Majesty, what's the matter?" And they're not sure what's happening, except we get Deathbird, who shows back up to the party. Of course, she's behind all this. Deathbird, who we had met, 5 issues ago. So really, when we kicked this season off, she was kind of the main villain in this and tied into the Brood. And as John, you mentioned, hints of the Brood coming back. This is where we're headed to in the next issue called Escape. And of course, the X-Men, I love, you see Colossus turn back into his metal. They all dash after her, and then they all get zapped. Stasis bomb hidden beneath the table detonates, smashing the heroes and into oblivion. It's not good. And then they're all knocked out as we see the Brood hanging and approving what Lady Deathbird has done at the very end. So we are left hanging going into this next issue. Final thoughts here on how this ended. Phable, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts here, kind of as we leave off to this cliffhanger?
It definitely leaves you wanting more. Definitely leaves you wanting to read the next issue. Again, fast pace. We're on a yacht party, playing attack. Oh, it's Deathbird. Oh, she knocks out the X-Men. Oh, the Brood's involved. Holy crap!
You got stasis bombs going off. Everything's crazy.
What the hell? Yeah. So I go back to it over and over again. Imagination. This guy's imagination is incredible, and he just creates situation after situation, just never stops.
Yeah.
And he finds a way to tie it all together and give you a sense that these people are all different attitudes, different. So this was no different. This is exactly why I love X-Men. Issues like this. Of course, not the best. Like, I agree with John. It's a little bit of rushing going on here, but at the same time, I mean, damn, a lot happened. A lot happened in this issue.
Totally. Space Gala, Bobby says, yeah, for sure. John, anything to add here? Your final thoughts on how this ended.
I mean, I love the Brood stuff, so I'm all for it. Like any hint of that stuff moving forward, I'm all about it. I think the best parts of this episode were really studying that dynamic, that Magneto Xavier dynamic that really had not been done in this fashion up to now. They certainly disagreed philosophically and they had their villains fighting, but they never had these debates over like sympathy for one another, right? Understanding of one another. It was very much, Magneto was very much a carbon black hat wearing villain until Claremont came along. And I think this is the issue that really cemented this concept that there was a gray area here between Magneto and Xavier, and that there was a way to maybe understand that. And I think that's the beauty of this issue. That's where the magic is.
Well said. Well said. I'm definitely looking forward to more overall and how this ended. The Brood, definitely. I'm very new to the Brood still. So before we get into the numbers, I know we still got some questions to go through and everything else. Appreciate everybody sticking around. Please stick around for the next 10 minutes or so. We have some fun questions we want to get through as well. General final thoughts though on this issue. How would you grade it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? John, I'm going to send it back to you. What was your stamp of approval here for 160?
I will say I read it digitally and was frustrated and was like, there were so many things that irked me this time around that I didn't catch when I was reading it originally. So I was probably ready to drop a 7 or a 6.5 on this issue and just be like, I was really frustrated. Reading it again, I read it again in the omnibus because I was traveling, so I couldn't read it in the Omni the first time. Reading it again in the omnibus forced me to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then talking with you guys, I'd probably say this was a 7.5 out of 10 for me personally. Nice. Just the highs were really high, the lows were really low, and it was a bit of a roller coaster. But the big X fan in me loves it for this is the birth of David Haller right here. That guy who's stuck in between Xavier and Magneto philosophically, and really hates his genetic mutation, but has no choice but to live a life that is incredibly difficult.
Yeah. Yep. Well said.
What's up,
well
Damien? Sleepy Reader. What's up, Damien?
Damien in the house. Cheers, Exaholics. That's right. Well said. Yeah, no, 7.5, I think is fair. Phable, what about you? How would you grade this, and kind of where do you stand overall in the big picture? Did you love it, hate it, in the middle?
No, I enjoyed it. This is just another issue in Claremont's run. Gotta read, you know. I was gonna give it a 7.5 also because I thought the art was really weak in
Fair.
this issue.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bump it up to an 8 only because I
Ooh.
didn't know all of this happened here. Like so much that I didn't even realize. Like you talking about the Legion stuff. I don't know too much about Legion. And
Yeah.
I didn't put it two and two together that was his mom that he met in this issue,
Yeah.
or you know just the time that he spent with Magnus. And this is where their friendship culminated, and this is where their ideologies ultimately, you know, crossed and split, and you know, so this is a huge issue. So I'm gonna bump it up to 8.
Love it, love it, love it.
And
Yes.
if you guys get around to watching Legion and are totally confused by it, because it is a buck wild ride, hit me up on Instagram. I'm happy to chat you through it because I want to rewatch it. It's a really great series.
I'll have to watch
the
it.
actress on there is fantastic. I forgot
Right?
her name. The actress on there,
Is it Aubrey Plaza that's on that?
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza, I think it is. Yeah,
Lots of great actors on that show, and the whole premise is they don't talk about it being an X-Men show. They do not bring.
See, that's
that
where
up.
I was confused as you guys were talking about this.
The best part about it is it's about a guy who just all of a sudden realizes I've been thinking I'm insane and hearing voices my whole life, but I'm not crazy. I have this ability, and the voices in my head are not crazy voices. They're other freaking people around me. Like I'm not insane,
man.
And that's beautiful. The way they do it, you feel crazy until all of a sudden you're not.
Yeah. All right, I'm adding it to the list. I'm
definitely.
I'm binging.
He's like,
yeah.
He wakes up and he's like, I'm in the Fox universe, X-Men universe.
That's all. I'm all confused right now. Well, I'm with you guys. I think that the grades you gave were very fair, John. I think you put it so accurate in saying that the highs were high for sure and the lows were low. I like the statement that you said there, and I agree because. I mean, there are parts in this, again, as I've expressed, that I just absolutely loved between Magneto and Xavier, as Krista had mentioned, you know, the backup story being important. A lot of the other other characters that have come in, as Phable just pointed out, the importance of all that. There's a lot of, you know, moments in that. And on top of that, just the heavy discussions with the Holocaust and this character, Gabby, and what she has gone through and her experience and everything. So for that, I'm there within the 8 to 8.5 range myself. I agree. Some of the artwork was a little weaker overall. Had some good moments, but overall weaker for sure. But I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I think that's where I stand with that. And a lot of it has to do with the bullet scenes. You know, the Professor X kind of waving his hand. You know, those scenes like that, like just showing them kind of flex, and then showing the friction that begins between the two and getting an understand. That I love that part. So obviously very important to the story. So
I think Claremont was trying to really juggle what Stan Lee had done in creating these characters with a worldly view that said, you know, it's not a black and white thing. There's no black hats and white hats. And I want to really humanize this universe. And I'm not going to let you just make it as simple as that. So he had to take what Stan Lee had crafted and then reinvent it in a way. Like, and they, you know, you can call it retconning if you want, but I think there are writers doing the same stuff today who get crapped on for trying to do what Claremont is doing in this issue. But it's really difficult to take what's already there and then reframe it in a way that allows for a new contextualization.
And it's so much better too, because I mean that series was canceled or not canceled. I mean, they started reprinting stuff for it around issue 50 or 60. So
it was somewhere in the 70s, 80s. Then they started they had like 12 issues of reprints.
Yeah, so everybody kind of agrees, I think, for the most part, with the black and white stuff, that it's just more than that. There should be a gray area, and Claremont adds that. It's no surprise it becomes the #1 book in Marvel.
Yeah. Absolutely. Daryl makes a good point too. He says, aside from that, Legion caused AOA, which is I know he's
so
been
like
reading a lot of that.
He goes back in time to this era to try to stop things from happening. It ends up killing his dad, which then creates the Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
which is the event series from the 90s that is loved or hated. I think it's incredibly enjoyable and buck wild hairstyles included. I think worth the time, an incredibly complex event. But I know that Daryl has been rereading a lot of these great 90s events, Death of Superman, Age of Apocalypse. I'm waiting for him to do Batman Nightfall. I do think Daryl, Batman Nightfall is waiting for you.
Interesting.
I'm just gonna say it.
I have to read all those. I want to read all of them. Just got to get more
Nightfall
time.
Was really good.
Talk to me before you read Age of Apocalypse, because I tried it 3 times before I could figure out a good reading order. It is challenging.
See, okay. I'm glad you said that, because I started one issue and I was so lost and I just didn't I don't know. I was like, am I doing this wrong? Like, so yeah.
It has been published in several different fashions, because the truth is it spread across all the Marvel, DC, all the X comics for a really long time. It had a ton of different writers and artists, so it was not a typical event. So the art from issue to issue, if you read it chronologically when it was published, is really frustrating, because you'll read an issue like, this is great, I'm into it, and then you'll read the next issue and be like, what the heck happened? This artist sucks. This is awful. So it is a very challenging read. But if you can just get into the alternate reality future of it, like the concept that this is a future without Charles Xavier, that you're really dealing with a Magneto versus Apocalypse future. Heroes that you loved are now villains that you hated are now heroes. Things are really topsy-turvy. I think there's a lot that you can get out of it and a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I'll let you know, because eventually I feel like that's something
I ended up collecting what they called the Age of Apocalypse complete collections, which are these trade paperbacks, but they're really thick trade paperbacks, and I think there's 5 or 6 of them.
Oh, that's a good way to go about it. Could see that.
But I had to they're out of print, so I had to find them on eBay and snag them. What's up, Perry?
Nice. We got Perry in the house. Station Perry. I agree, brother Joe. So many comics, so little time. So thank you for reviewing these issues, gentlemen. Appreciate you, man, for hanging out with us.
Love you, brother Joe.
I'm glad you're enjoying them. Daryl said he might read Nightfall. Probably won't do the whole Night Quest though.
You should not have to. No.
Yeah.
And I think my LCS just got a collection of trades, and I think they had all 3 volumes of Nightfall in trade in soft covers, and I bought all 3. I told him I want all 3. I want to make my daughter read them.
Oh, there you go.
She loves Batman, so I think it'll be hilarious to watch her go through that experience.
Nice. All right, let's dive into the some of the money here real quick. Then we'll get to the questions. Nothing too flashy other than what we covered here. The origin of Magneto. I put that they're essentially a flashback of their early time meeting, our first time meeting, and then of course we have the Hydra appearance, which is newer to me of this era. I haven't really read anything else with Hydra in it, so cool to kind of get those stories involved. As far as the money goes, 9.8s. There's 209 on the consensus or on the census. The fair market value is 230 for 9.8. So kind of up there, and I guess a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's the origin of Magneto. I know origins in general have a little bit of a leg to stand on for why we see some of these prices. So a 9.8 plus, I imagine it's hard to get these nowadays in a 9.8 with the black
all around the edges,
the edges, so and the spine. So a 9.6 does drop to $100. So if you want to go that route, you certainly can, and then it goes down from there.
He's got a 9.8 no signature newsstand, so shout out to
nice.
All right, I guess it's not too bad.
Nobody signed it though.
I'm surprised.
Ugly blue label, huh?
Yeah.
That blue.
Awkward. Send it to me, Chet. I'll sign it.
Yeah.
Newsstand, nice. Any thoughts here? Anyone want to add anything else here with the key elements or the money?
Yeah, man. Is there a run that's you could slab the whole entire run?
That would be the next big thing, right?
Even
Chet practically did that.
Chet's your guy, man. Chet's your guy. You all should be following the Chet-I Knight. Chet-I Knight on Instagram, because the dude has the greatest X-Men collection, slabbed X-Men I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to collect signed slabs for key. I just got my first Frank Miller slab signed comic. The only one I'm missing is a Stan Lee slab. At one point, I'm going to find the right one at the right price at the right time. But Chet Eye's got all of them. He's got all of them.
Yeah. I wanted to do the whole collector of all the floppies, but right when I got that itch, that's when they stopped being 50-cent books and just
right. A lot of them went
insane.
up.
Yeah, this used to be a really cheap book, and I think it's gone. Yeah. This is an example of one that's gone a lot up.
Even a raw copy of this, I feels like $20, 25, maybe 30.
Yeah.
You know, raw. Yeah. You know, mid condition.
But you got to think this was like their number one seller, right? At this time in the early '80s, yeah. So they're printing $1 million an issue, maybe $2 million an issue, which is unheard of these days.
Yeah,
like good luck you get 80,000.
Right. All right. Well, that's all we got for the for this year. John, you mentioned, I know I jumped the gun, skipped on some of the questions. What'd you have in store here?
So we've been doing this new third season. Justin had this great idea of like getting to know our friends in the community and these guests that we come on with each week by asking them fun trivia. So it takes a little while for you all to answer our trivia questions. So I thought what would happen is whenever Justin asks a question of you in the chat and you're trying to answer it, we can ask Phable a question a little bit about his history with X-Men and where he feels about certain characters and certain things in X-Men. So we're going to try to like double dip our questions a little bit while you're answering and the lag is happening in the chat.
Perfect.
We're going to be also asking Phable a question to have a little fun learning a little bit about him. Remember, we're looking for 2 correct answers in the chat and the funniest answer as far as Phable is concerned, something that makes him laugh. We're going to take those 2 correct and the funniest, and we're going to add them to our raffle because if you're unfamiliar with this show, Justin and I are idiots. We give away a ton of great crap every year. We're giving away original art. We're giving away slabs. We're giving away awesome comic books, mystery boxes, omnibus. We give away so much stupid crap. You should totally win this stuff.
Take it.
You just got to answer some questions.
You got to go. If you're curious about like, is it even worth my time? Go back and watch the 2 giveaway videos we've done. I know they're really long and we get really drunk while we're doing it. Yeah. There's a lot of awesome books and things that we give away because the truth is like, I've really, this experience of rereading this with Justin has been one of the highlights of doing this YouTube thing. I've always loved these stories. I've always loved these characters, but to revisit them as an adult with awesome friends like Phable and Justin, it's just, it's amazing. And then you and all you awesome people in the chat, like I'm happy to give this stuff away and be like, yes, like, thank you for hanging out with us. So
absolutely
answer questions, make Phable laugh. You don't even need to know the perfect quote. I'm going to ask you a perfect quote from last issue 160, and you got to nail it. You can't misspell it, Chet Scotland.
Get your issues ready. Get your comics ready. That's all.
You got to get it right. But like, thank you for all hanging out with us, and I think it's kind of fun. So you get to win some cool stuff. We're gonna put all these raffle tickets on the wheel and spin the wheel and give away some fun stuff because we just really love this show and talking about these books.
You are spot on, John. I even gave away Lego last night, and you know me, I don't give away. I love my Lego. I don't like to give away.
Nobody gives away Lego. What's wrong with you?
Gave away really cool Wolverine Lego to Coach Vic, who won it. So that was cool.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah. So as John said, get your fingers ready to type some answers here. If you don't know the correct answer, but you see someone else type it, write it out anyways, because we want to. You could be the second to get your name on it. Otherwise, you want to put something funny, make Phable laugh as well. So get creative, keep it clean. So
here's the best part about it. I think Old Wolf fell asleep. He's tied for first place. Now is your chance to get ahead of him a little bit.
He's really
JP went to bed. I haven't seen JP comment in a while. He's in 3rd place. So really, you just got to beat Chet, or at least copy whatever Chet says and repost it. You're probably going to stay right there in 1st and 2nd place with Chet.
Good point. By the way, you got to highlight this. So Chet just said, 131, a reward to anyone who helps me find it. Now, I will say, I think he's referring to Batman, because Batman 131 just came out today. So if you can find that for Chet, right? Am I right, Chet? Or not Batman?
That must be. Yeah,
I think it's Batman.
Chip Zdarsky's Batman, right?
131, just like Chet said. We got you, Chet. We'll find 131 for you. John, do you want to kick it off with your first question here?
Did you want what do you want?
There it is.
You want the cover A? Is that
Oh, he said no.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad.
Wrong 131.
Yeah, I'll go first. So this is the one you gotta get spelled and written correctly. I'm looking for a 5-word answer. This has to do with X-Men issue 160. My question is, Storm in the previous issue finishes a workout in the danger room and decides, I'm going to create a storm here and just shower. She's just going to bathe herself right there in the middle of the hallway outside of the danger room.
I want to read that now.
Yeah.
She turns to Wolverine. She turns to Wolverine and Colossus, and she says, hey, guys, I can expand my storm here. Anybody want to join me? What are the 5 words that Wolverine says to her in response to this offer? That's what I'm looking for.
Phable right now is like, what page is it?
Yeah, it's an amazing sequence. You get to see Storm with her hair covering all her little bits and the smoke and the clouds and the rain. And my question to you, Phable, is who is your favorite X character?
Yeah, let's hear it. Oh, and quick hello to Kevin, Entropy and Comic Station, Kevin.
I've juggled with this a lot because I just love them all so much. But if I had to pick one, the one that I probably related to the most, only because I was a new reader and she was a new character, that would be Kitty Pryde. When Kitty Pryde joined the X-Men, awesome. I kind of felt like I was living vicariously through her as she discovered these different personalities. And, her being we were all nerds. And back in the day, it wasn't so popular like it was now, so her being a mutant and not being popular in public, it's just, I can relate to her. So Kitty Pryde, yeah.
Nice. Love Kitty. Absolutely.
Great pick.
You should read a couple of the recent ones then, because I was
gonna say the last 2 Omnis have really dived into her in a big way.
Yeah.
And
who doesn't want a pet dragon? I mean, come on.
Lockheed, baby, Lockheed.
So cool.
Yes,
so cool. Yeah, as a D&D nerd, she checked all the boxes, right? She checked all the boxes.
Right.
Lady No Good and I, we just finished watching Game of Thrones, the full 8 seasons, and so we've had dragons all in our life recently. So I can agree with that. All right, I see a couple of correct answers here, John.
Yeah, I do too. So actually, I see one correct answer. Can I say I see one? I think I still just see. Oh no, I got 2.
No, okay, yeah.
Albert is way up there.
Yeah, got Albert first.
Sorry,
he was the first one to put in there.
I didn't see you. So I got Albert Loves Comics with "Sounds good to me, darling." That is exactly the 5 words that Wolverine says in response. Which for me, he downplays it nicely. He plays it cool. He plays it cool. And then I got Chet Scotland, second place. Yes. Yeah, he was wrong with his first answer.
I saw that. A couple people, Bobby too, don't mind if I do.
Don't mind if I do is a great 5-word answer. And Chet was the first to use it. And 3 people copied Chet. They're like, oh, Chet's got to know. Chet's got to know.
62 says, heck yeah, I got soap.
That's such a good answer, right? Heck yeah, I got soap.
So yeah,
5 words.
As she's getting ready to shower, that I could definitely see that being the.
And then Bobby right under it. I
brought the soap, baby. You guys
Dan says, "Hell yeah, I'm joining in."
Yeah, I'm joining in. I like that one too. Did I win? That's a good one. Remember, we're making make Phable laugh here. Yeah, Damien. This is just not sanitary.
I mean, you're in a hallway. Let's just be honest. There's no drainage. There's no way to drain this.
I'm like Professor X in that instance. I'm just ready to risk it all for a storm.
I mean, we all should. I think that's
good. Brother Joe, cats don't like water, kitten. Old Wolf, please drop the soap, please. I like the double usage of please. Yeah. Tony, well done there. Well done.
Jackson Roy Kirk. Yeah.
Where's my rubber ducky, hun? Is it Saturday already?
Oh my gosh, Kevin. Holy
Kevin.
cow. Oh my gosh.
Lube or soap is preferred. Oh my god.
All right. So do you have a favorite one, Fable? Did you have one that made you laugh?
Yeah, man. Please drop the soap, please. That's what I was thinking
Tony,
myself. Coming
the
in
double,
hot.
please. Yeah.
He stayed tied. He's still tied with Chet in number one spot. All right, Justin, you're up, buddy.
All right. My first question is, wow, did I totally? Oh no, sorry.
I can
what
read it
doll? I know, right? What doll was Belasco, the villain, holding in the last panel of last issue? Everybody, get their books out. Start flipping through. What was the doll that Belasco was holding during the last panel of the last issue?
Yep.
While we're waiting, John, you have another question for Fable? You want to throw his way?
Yeah. Okay. So Fable, what mutant power would you pick for yourself if you had to choose one?
Like this
from the X-Men or just in general?
I mean, I guess
mutant.
just really in general.
Any mutant.
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, I always wanted to have like Superman's powers, his invulnerability, his super strength. Only because of, going back to the nerd thing and it not being such a, popular thing. I felt like if I was super strong and couldn't be heard, nobody could mess with me.
Right. Mr. Incredible
so,
kind of style.
Yeah, I kind of wanted that to, I didn't want to abuse people with my super shit, like beat the crap out of them or anything like that. But I wanted them to know you can't hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be like Colossus. You could be like Colossus there, Turn steel.
He's the perfect example of, I feel like, somebody with strength who uses it for good, right? To take care of his sister, to protect Kitty Pryde or the school or his, whatever. I feel like Colossus uses that strength beautifully. Nowadays, he's like a farmer on Krakoa. The dude's like farming all the time.
Yeah. Chet says nobody messed with Phable anyway. That's right. All right, I see some answers
I gotta let
here.
you decide because spelling is going to come into play here, and I don't know how to choose the two correct answers you got here.
All right, I'm gonna. This is perfect. I'm gonna ask Phable so we can blame him later.
Yeah.
So Phable, should
guy.
they? So, what do you think the correct answer should be in this doll? Is the answer is Fozzie Bear. That's what I had written down as the answer. It is a picture of Fozzie Bear from the Muppets that he's holding.
And I will say, Justin, you texted me spelling I see in the chat.
I did say that.
So I don't know if we need to follow your spelling in the chat.
This is where we're going to ask Phable. Phable, should it be, is Fozzie acceptable or should it be Fozzie Bear?
You should go up and just start clicking options until he says that this is correct.
Oh, man.
The first one I see is Old Wolf, right? Up.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
One more.
But
that's the first spelling I see of Fozzie.
I see. Okay.
Is it good enough, or do we go to Chet right under it, who does the ZZY?
Right.
And then underneath that, we got Candace with his Fizzle Bear. I don't know what's going on.
First, she had a typo. But she did correct herself.
But then we've got right above that, we got Fozzie with the double ZY, but no Bear with the little F.
Oh yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
It's a mess, right?
I'm gonna say don't hold the spelling against people because what's a Fozzie? That was made up completely anyway.
Fair. That's fair.
How to spell Fozzie, right?
Okay.
That's totally fair.
I don't think you need to put the bear because once you said it's a doll, you say Fozzie. We know who we're talking about here, right? Right?
I'm totally with you, Phable. See, this is great because anybody who's now upset because they lost, I can blame Phable. So this works out. So here it is. So sorry, Candace. Unfortunately, we got to blame this guy. No.
Sorry, Candace.
So Tony,
let me go back.
Yeah. Tony is the first on the list. We're going to give it to him, Fozzie. So there you go, Tony. And then Chet right behind him there. With the other spelling, the correct spelling of Fozzie. So congrats to Tony and Chet. We still have some funny ones here. We got Cabbage Patch from Bobby. Let's see. We got Let's see, a lot of fun. Charlie McCarthy, 62
What?
left in blue.
Oh, that's an old school one because that's like an old school puppet that a comedic.
Oh, I was
actor would
wondering.
use.
Okay, I can picture that now.
So
Yeah,
I'm old enough. You can see I'm the only guy with gray in the beard. Here.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Charlie McCarthy, yeah, he would be on stage with his puppet talking like it was a doll that would talk. There you go.
I see.
Gotcha.
This is why I partnered up with John so he could explain these things. Brother Joe says Chickley as an answer. We got a life-size storm doll by Bobby Delegato.
Yeah, send that to me. Send that to me.
John Stout says Raggedy Ann. Dan De La Torre says Nightcrawler's teleportation. I like it. Let's see. Yeah, Brother Joe, Chucky doll. That'd be super creepy.
God.
That would definitely go with the creepy vibes for sure. Krista also says Chucky doll.
Chucky doll.
Let's see. My buddy Daryl.
Oh wow, that's an old school. That's an old school pick.
Let's see. Old Wolf
Waka Waka.
Oh God, the nanny cam bear. Daryl.
Oh wow, Daryl.
Let's see. Kevin talking about the powers. He said mutant power to create money on growing on trees. Yeah, that'd be a good one. 62 playing to the judge here. Hashtag blame Phable. That's the doll. Hashtag Phable needs his own doll. Hashtag blame Phable doll. Find yours at your local store today. Let's see. He had a pet doll named Roscoe doll. a pet Roscoe doll. We got another Chucky doll. Anything here, Phable, that stands out to you? Some more Waka Waka. Chris Jericho.
I'm gonna go with the life-size storm because I mean, come on. Who doesn't want a life-size storm?
That was Bobby Delegato coming through. Nicely done.
That's your fifth entry, Bobby. So keep it up, my man. You are killing it, man.
Nice. All right, John, go ahead.
My final question is concerning the demon Sim, spelled S''YM. This is one of Belasco's minions that is working in the underworld and sort of sent out to deal with our hard-hitting mutants, characters like Colossus and Logan. Sim goes out and lays these guys down. But at one point, Sim dives into his loincloth, the only piece of clothing he wears, and pulls something out. Excuse me, I was a little overcome. What does Sim carry in his loincloth?
He tried to hold that one in.
Yeah. By the way,
I thought of this question and I was like, Justin, I'm sorry. We're going a little ribald tonight.
Go for it. I meant to highlight that I missed this before. Tony said Weddy Betty. I don't know.
Weddy Betty. But my question for Phable while we're waiting is, do you have like a favorite X-Men story that you've read? Like a story arc, whether that's modern and something real recent or something that's classic? Is there a storyline that when you think of X-Men is like your storyline?
That's a good question.
Art chemist in the house. Station art chemist.
I really enjoyed when Professor X went bad.
Yeah.
275, I believe, or 274. Also, Lilandra was involved, and he had disappeared and came back walking. It was weird.
I don't know.
But I gotta tell you, Jonathan Hickman. I mean, that story he created, those 12 issues, was it 12 or 10 issues? I don't know. House of X, Power of X.
Yeah, 6 and 6, 12, baby.
Incredible. Incredible. I don't know. Just the thought of him recontextualizing 45? How many years of X-Men? 60? What are we talking about here?
Insane amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, in about one issue with House of X 2.
Yep.
Is incredible. I like the regular Past the Future, Dark Phoenix, all your staples and stuff I talked about. But that Jonathan Hickman floored me, man. I haven't read something like that since.
That's a great answer.
You're right. And it definitely changed a lot in the modern day right now. So, yeah.
I'm impressed. The chat, the first two answers are the correct answers. So people know this issue. They know Sim carries around Wolverine's claw in his junk down there, which, by the way, add a sharp adamantium claw. That's just not where I'm carrying it. I'm
Dangerous.
just telling you, there's a lot of options.
You're asking for trouble there.
I am not packing that kind of heat.
Right.
Old Wolf and then Chet Scotland with the 2 correct answers, but there's some joy in this chat.
There's some really good ones. Phable, get ready. I'm going to highlight them now.
I thought Wolverine Claw was kind of funny.
That's a correct answer.
That's the correct
real one.
So first up, Dan Delgado says his 12-inch Jar Jar is the first answer.
All right, there you go.
Bobby says a sandwich, playing the sandwich key answer.
There you go. I get it.
I'm just gonna put this one up here for Damien.
Oh my god, Damien.
We did have a golden theme.
I
Damien,
love gold.
So yeah, you're not totally off. Some brass knuckles, Bobby. That's legit. I mean, you know, never know when you need those.
I see that.
Cyclops glasses.
I need some ruby quartz glasses.
Bratwurst, Brother Joe.
That's funny.
Bobby, Brother Joe, right there.
Adamantium toothpick is basically what it was. Adamantium toothpick,
I mean, right?
Vibrating pickle suit. Tony, okay. Let's say 62 says a pair of D's.
Yeah, he knows me well.
That's why you're here, Lefty. That's why you're here.
Bobby says his giant sized man thing. Yeah, that is a title.
That's it. There you go, Bobby. Nicely done.
John Style, excuse me while I whip this out.
I love a good Blazing Saddles quote. There you go.
Chet says mutant gold.
There you go.
I love gold. Kanye's graduation album. So random. I love that album, by the way. Just saying.
Oh,
great album.
God, you guys are hilarious.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's the majority. Any of them there that you want to choose from there? A letter from the governor.
Bottle of
If
hot
you would have
sauce.
said the mayor, you would have won.
Bobby said a bottle of hot sauce. Yeah, jeez.
I'm gonna go
Really
with a pair of these, man.
A pair of these.
62 knows exactly how to appeal to the judge.
Was that 62, right?
That was 62. Yeah.
All right, Lefty's back. What's up, Lefty?
It's Jock
Jockey Spouter. That's a good one.
Oh, Diana Ross CD. Yeah, where's Magic Lasso? Good call, Bobby.
Magic Lasso. We miss you, brother Ryan. I hope you catch the rewind, my man.
Heck yeah. All right, good stuff. We got one more.
Last question is yours, buddy.
All right. Number 2. All right. So, who was the mysterious character in the Hood last issue that helped save the X-Men? There was a mysterious character through the issue that they didn't quite reveal. They were wearing a hoodie, a lot of shadows in the dark, sneaking around kind of stuff. But later was revealed. Who was that that we saw?
And now we've asked Phable all the questions. I wanted to highlight something at the end. I love these omnis because they include the email or the letters that people gave to the fans. And so Claremont responds to a letter here. I've had a bunch of interesting discussions with people because I've been reading a lot of books that people might say are woke or whatever. There's a lot of drama about like comics are woke and they're ruining things or that. Claremont replies to a fan and he says this in the sentence. He says, "We've received threats in our time. But a few as flattering as this one," because he's being very complimentary to someone who wrote a letter that was very kind of like silly teasing. But it highlights the greater comment to the fact that Chris Claremont was getting threat letters because of his reinvention of the X-Men, because he took a bunch of white kids and changed them into an African lady and a Canadian and a German and a Russian and whatever. He was getting threats. And I just think it's worth noting that even though he laughs it off and says, "We get a lot of threats, but none as cute as this one," and they publish it, like comics haven't changed. I know sometimes it might feel like, oh my gosh, comics are totally different now than they were then. For me, that letter hits on a nugget of truth, which is that Claremont was dealing with a lot of the same hate mail for reinventing the X-Men into a multinational, multi-ethnic group. The same way that I think Tom Taylor's getting hate mail for what he's doing for Superman or whatever. I just think that there's something true to be said there that I think gets ignored. and it's right there in the letters page, published in the 70s. This comment that he makes is like, I get threats for what I'm writing in a comic book. Like, for me, I feel like fandom hasn't changed a ton. I just like, which should make us feel good. This idea that like, okay, we can temper it a little bit. This idea that like, it's still right. I don't know. Just something that I've noticed and I thought I would share.
So always gonna be somebody
if you don't think there's diversity or inclusion or anything in Marvel Comics, I dare say you're not a Marvel Comics fan.
Right, like what are you reading? Like,
really reading?
Are we
I would,
the same thing?
And Dan, I would guarantee that Jack and Stan got that kind of hate mail when they invented Black Panther. I would, especially considering that they named him Black Panther and the connotation that had in the 60s. I guarantee you they got hate mail for that. I guarantee.
Yeah. I meant to go back and read some of the. I like to see that. I have it here. I saw it earlier when I reread this, and I was going to go back, so I'll have to go back through and read.
I think it's worth taking the time.
I do like them.
That they include that. You know,
for sure. Yeah. Dan agrees. Sadly, probably.
So sorry to bring I didn't mean to bring the show down. I just think it's valuable.
No.
It's like a time capsule.
It's a good thing to highlight, though. Yeah. You make a good point. And it's just interesting that even then. You know, seeing that stuff going around.
And Damien is totally right. I think it's just the megaphone we give people because of the internet. I think that is really the vocal minority. That you hear the complaints louder than you would if it's just going into the Marvel offices and they're throwing the junk into the trash and they're moving on with their day. We have to read them in every comment section.
Yeah,
that's the big difference.
Yeah.
And how stupid can they be ultimately when they've survived all these years? I mean, really? Are they that dumb? The track record speaks for itself. They're still in business, and they're the #1 comic book company in the world. I don't know.
Yep.
Oh, Bobby, great point. Sorry, let's get the correct answers.
We will hit 2 hours. Just saying.
I know. Oh yeah, guaranteed.
I love this. I
we're out of
practice. Yeah.
I'm coming
so many good
house,
things,
Justin,
though. What's that?
I'm going right to your house.
You're more than welcome. We got an extra couch right here. So, all right. Here, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to put my foot down on the answer here. I had texted this to John, the answer being Old Storm. So that's what I'm going to stick with as the correct answer. Old Storm is who we saw as the hooded character through last issue. So the first Hooded Storm answer that we get is Tony. So congrats, Tony, on the board again. The guy is on fire tonight. And then the next Old Storm that I see is Candace with Old Storm as well. So congrats to Candace. You get the point there as well. Looking for Old Storm on that one. A lot of Storm answers and some more Old Storm rolling through. So appreciate everybody with that. There are some good humor ones too. So I'm gonna share some of those. Phable, you let me know. Candace said Grandma Storm. I like that. That's pretty accurate. Little Red Riding Hood, Bobby says. Jackson Roy Kirk says old but still hot Storm.
There you go.
There you go. Krista says Old Spice. I like that. A little play on words with old. Dan says old worn out Storm.
No such thing.
No such thing.
He'd be a gilf even if she got that old.
Yeah.
Come on.
Candace says old drizzle Storm at that age. That she's all she's got. I love it.
Get out of here, Candace. How dare you shame myself?
The international team. Crystal is put down. Let's see, a couple others here. Did I miss? And then we get into some of the discussion points.
I see Bobby says Old Storm and then the sad face. And then Albert says it was Agatha all along.
Oh, yeah. It was Agatha.
It was Agatha. I just saw that for the first time last week. Funny you write that.
Really? Nice.
I love WandaVision. I thought that was great.
It's great.
One of my favorite parts of Phase 4.
Yes. All right. What do you think, Phable? Some of these answers that have come through here. Anything jump out?
I gotta go with the old but still hot.
There you go, Jackson Roy Kirk on the list. Nice job.
I got you, Jackson. And officially now, Old Wolf, you're up by 1. You are in the lead by 1 over Chet Scotland. This is an impressive feat. You should definitely toast yourself a little something tonight.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Tony. All right. Well, that wraps it up. Only 2-hour show this time around, guys. I know we're keeping it short on you, but we appreciate you watching anyways. I want to thank Phable, dude. Thank you so much joining us in the new year, kicking off the new year, mid-season, season 3. Always appreciate you, brother, being on with us and just collaborating with you in general. I know there's going to be a lot more opportunities down the road for that. So, again, just appreciate you, man, for being with us.
Always, man. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. Always fun seeing all this people in the chat. Love Chet. I love everybody, Albert, everybody that came through, man. This is fun. This is fun. And I hope maybe we turn on some people to some X-Men, some Claremont X-Men, man.
Heck yeah.
Dream.
Heck yeah. Even if this sparks, go and checking out Legion or AOA or some of the other, discussions we talked about here tonight. We covered a lot, guys. We definitely covered a lot here. A lot of different topics. We were talking Storm. We're talking all sorts of stuff. So I love it. I love it.
Jackson said, "What, they get you back after a month and all we got was 2 hours?"
I know. We're keeping it short. Yes, that's the next one right there.
Me.
Yeah,
before you go there.
If anyone is offended tonight, it's this guy's fault. Just putting it out there. That's a great cover. Can't wait to talk about that next week.
Back in 2 weeks on my channel, we got Albert Loves Comics with us, and we're talking about the Brood saga with an epic Wolverine solo kind of story. So buckle up, be ready, Wolverine fans. You're gonna want to be there for that.
Heck yeah, absolutely. So make sure you're subbed up to John for next week, Tuesday, 9:00. And of course, if you're not following Phable, make sure you do so check out his show when you get a chance. Blame him all you want
on Instagram, because I'll tell you right now, this guy runs Instagram for comic community.
Heck yeah.
You're not following Phable over on the Instagram, one collection down over on Instagram, you're missing out. You're just
throw up your sets on Saturday, all the good.
I've been away on vacation, so I haven't been snapping photos of my sets. I'm gonna blow this up. I'm gonna drop 2 sets on Saturday just to get back into the game.
Nice.
So be ready. Buckle up.
All right, gang. Well, that's it for all of us. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you next week. Make sure you're ready for our questions and everything else. Smash that like button on the way out. Until next time, we will talk to you